Welcome back to Sweet Science Boxing and MMA in Hawthorne, California. I'm Chris, your boxing enthusiast, and with me, as always, is professional boxing coach and insider, the creator, owner of Sweet Science Boxing and MMA, Coach Marco Trejo.
Hey, what's up, Chris?
Good. How's it going? Happy Father's Day.
Yeah, happy Father's Day. You beat me to it. I was going to tell you happy Father's Day.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
I don't have any kids, but I'll take a happy Father's Day anyways.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. All right. So what do we got going on today?
Today, we're going to talk about boxing.
Oh, that's a good plan.
All right.
I've got some topics on boxing. That's great.
Yeah, definitely was a busy weekend. I had a long Saturday, but I know it was a busy weekend of boxing, so we got plenty to talk about. And I made a new friend while I was out at the WBC amateur boxing tournament this weekend. I made a new friend. Here with us, our special guest, Anthony Stacks Saldana from Supreme Boxing.
Man, thank you guys for having me, man. I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah,
thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
At some point, we're gonna have to ask how you got the name Stacks.
Yeah. It's a pretty funny story, but yeah,
We'll get to it.
we'll get to it, man.
We'll get to it. Cool.
Yeah.
So you guys just met?
Yeah, we met at the WBC amateur event, and then we were having beers at Cheesecake Factory afterwards.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
A couple 805s, and we were straight, man.
Yeah, I still have a headache from that.
All right. So, at the WBC amateur event, you had fighters at the event?
Yes, we had fighters at the event. We had 3. Unfortunately, we only won one of our fights out of those 3.
Okay.
But I would say we were competitive in all of them. Even in the losses, we were competitive. It was I believe it was the 4th annual, right? The fourth annual WBC show that was held in Whittier at what's known as the Star Center, which is it's like a sheriff's training.
Okay.
The sheriff's training center. And there was 48 fights yesterday. I'm not sure how it started Thursday, so it's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I imagine there was probably about 40 fights each day. And it brought some of the best boxers from Southern California. Actually, there was boxers from all over the place. There was a heavyweight from Tahiti.
Yeah, Little Tyson.
Yeah, everybody's saying
Little Tyson? That's the thing?
Little Tyson.
Nice.
Yeah, and then there was, I think there was boxers from where?
Atlanta, New York, Chicago,
Yeah,
Texas, Arizona, Nevada.
yeah.
And so what was your involvement with the event?
I was just volunteering there. I
Awesome.
did a little emceeing, and then basically just took some pictures and just kind of hung out, man. Helped out wherever they needed help. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was a good time?
Yeah, it was, other than losing / being robbed, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, my goodness.
It
you
happens,
hear that?
man.
You hear that?
Yeah, I know.
And that's why I don't cover amateur boxing, bro. There's a lot of politics in it, man. You think there's politics in pro boxing?
Oh, yeah.
Man, with these kids, shit, I almost got my ass kicked the first night I was emceeing.
Oh,
so
really?
Like the
This year?
Yeah,
Thursday?
A Friday night, man.
Okay.
So like the third fight, I say the winner in the red corner, and then announce the blue corner's name, and it was the blue corner that won.
Oh, yeah, they
Okay.
get mad about that.
And the dad's like, "You said the red corner won," and like, I had like 6 sheriffs around me, so I knew he wasn't gonna do anything, man.
Yeah, that's the one good thing about having it there. There's plenty of sheriffs there, so it won't get too out of hand if something bad happens.
And then you got Delilah, like the head of the USA Boxing.
Oh yeah,
she'll take care of you.
Yeah. Well, she's the funny part is she runs the officiating for our LBC. She's a pretty strict, stern individual. She has to. She runs a tight ship, let's just say, right?
Okay.
And you can't get anything past her because she's going to run the show the way she runs the show. She's been doing it for, I think, almost 20 years. And the funny part about being at the sheriff's at the Star Center is normally she doesn't have sheriffs around her, but when she does, she uses them as her enforcers.
So she's especially strict in that sense? I got you.
Yeah, she's like, she's like, pipe down or I'll get you arrested. Get behind the line.
I will say I haven't been to one of these, but based on the stories you guys have told, I heard there's some stuff going on last year, some stuff going on this year.
Yeah, well,
Is it just coaches getting heated and fighters getting heated about their fighters losing, or what?
It just, I mean, all the fighters get medals, man. Whether win or lose, they all get a medal.
So it's a great
Okay.
show.
And at the end of the day, I think they give out like 3 or 4 belts. This year they gave out 5. They gave out one to the elite female, one to the elite male,
Okay.
And they already had that match planned out. So that was like a pre-match fight where they had like 2 elite girls fighting and then 2 elite boys fighting.
But these are legit WBC belts.
Yeah,
real
these-
nice.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the
Like
real deal.
heavyweight.
They're getting
leather.
real belts, but then the LBC chooses who the best overall boxer is in different age groups. They have like the younger age group, a middle age group from like 13 to 16, and then like a 16 and older. And there was some fighters that were over 16 that had fought like all 3 nights and won, and they were like 3-0 and walking around with their gold medals. And then they like awarded the bout to a kid that only fought 1 fight.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's kind of,
Understandably, there's
you
some
know, so
resentment
there's like
there.
dudes like, man, I fought all 3 days.
Yeah.
And he won.
And I won all 3 days, but because this kid looked impressive and got a knockdown or whatever, you're giving him the belt. Like,
Yeah.
but you know, either way, there's gonna be hard feelings because there's only like 1 belt for each age group, so
yeah.
Okay.
it happens every year.
Understandably, then there's some resentment or animosity between fighters.
Of course,
Okay.
everybody wants to get the big trophy and then the special trophy, which is like, you know, fighter of the day, or, you know, that's essentially what the WBC belt is for. It's like for outstanding boxer at the event. But
It started off just as a showcase for the WBC
Okay.
to recognize that, you know, that the WBC is helping these amateurs, because there was, for a long time, there was a big conflict between the WBC, the Suleiman family, and amateur boxing. USA Boxing really
USA
didn't want.
Boxing.
Yeah, they really didn't want anything to do with the WBC. The WBC finally stepped in. It was a few years ago and said, we're gonna take care of everything, like in Louisiana or something. One year where they had like the nationals out, and they like paid for everything, you know. And there was some conflict there, and they're working it out. And it started off as a showcase for the WBC to show, you know, hey, we're helping these kids out. We're trying to do something. But now it's become one of the most prestigious shows in the world, man. You're getting kids from everywhere. Like he said, there was yesterday, the last day, there was 48 fights, you know, and it's just.
And that was just yesterday.
That was just yesterday, you know, and it's a packed house. There's only 1 ring. And I know
really?
for people that go to amateur shows, usually there's like 5, 6, 7 rings, you know, to try to get this thing going. But, you know, Friday night, you're starting at 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and you got 38 fights. You know, you're there till almost midnight, you know, with these fighters. So it was a packed house, and everybody wants that belt. Everybody wants that green and gold strap, whether it's an amateur, whether it's a professional, you know, they want that strap saying, hey, I got a WBC belt. You know?
Are you emceeing that whole time?
Yeah, I emceed that
Oh
whole
my
time.
goodness.
So
That's a long day.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm introducing the fighters. I'm having to say, you know, the red corner, the blue corner, trying to look down to see who's winning. And it's just a signal from the judges. It's a 1 finger up or a 2 fingers up. And then, okay, you got to remember, 1 is red, 2 is blue.
Yeah.
And then these names from these kids, you know. And then you get, some of these names are just Kobian, Ebian. And
it's a
just,
diverse group.
yeah,
there.
it's a diverse group, very diverse, man.
And I assume it's not like the pros where you get a chance to meet everybody beforehand, get their correct pronunciation.
It's
Yeah.
kind of it's like a assembly line, or
Yeah, exactly.
like putting fights.
You're
It's just
next,
one
you're
after.
next.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, you know, I'd be like, okay, Coach and Chris, you guys get ready to get into the ring. Okay, Joe and John, you guys stage. The other 2, you give the names. You guys glove up, because they have to glove up by USA Boxing. So USA Boxing gives them the gloves. They're not coming in with their own gloves. They get wrapped. They get their
They
hands
observe the
checked.
wrap, right?
They
Yeah,
observe
they
the
do the
wrap,
whole
then
thing.
They put the gloves on you, whether you're the red or the blue corner. So you have them, you know, the fighters in the ring. You have the staging fighters. You have the fighters that are gloving up. Then you got people, well, so-and-so hasn't got their medicals. So you're like, hey, I need so-and-so to the doctors because they haven't cleared their medicals yet. Or so-and-so needs to turn in their book, you know. Because
Or sometimes a bout will fall out, you know.
Yeah.
And that changes everything, you know. About 33 falls out, and you were 36. Now you're, instead of, you know, 1 or 2 fights next, you're like in the queue there, ready to go.
And then like yesterday, they had 2 elite fights. So they had like this girl, left hook Roxy.
Right hook.
Right hook Roxy going. Yeah, right hook Roxy. Thank you, man. Going up against another girl from East LA. Like her name was Marianne Vivar, and these are like 2 of the top fighters in the nation, female fighters in the nation.
Crowd was going wild.
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy fight. And then the fight just stops. And then we're like on a 5-minute delay because some kid got sick. So the doctors, like the doctors over with somebody.
Yeah, he had to step away from the ring.
So because there's no ringside physician, they had to like stop the fight. Just like stop it.
Yeah.
So these girls are just sitting there waiting, and it was
That's tough.
something else.
But
man.
you know, a lot of credit goes to, and even though, you know, I complain, you know, we got robbed or whatever. I mean, it's still a great event. You know, thank you to the WBC for putting it together. Thank you to all the officials who were there and all the volunteers. At the end of the day, it's still a great event for the kids to participate and to feel that type of atmosphere where, you could only really get a WBC belt or any WBC medal or anything if you're a pro and you're at a high level.
Yeah.
So it's a very unique event where no other sanctioning body in professional boxing or in boxing is doing anything like that. So, it's still to me, it's still a new event. It's only the 4th year, so it's kind of in its infancy, but it could really become something huge as far as drawing in the best fighters from all over the world. And the great thing is that it's here in LA, so we as the fighters from LA have access to it, and then we get to fight against some of the best from the world.
Yeah, and then last year I know they started it in Chicago as well. So they had a tournament in Chicago, an amateur tournament in Chicago, and then before the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame last August, they had an elite, basically an elite show, where they were just the best elite fighters in the United States were invited, and they fought against each other. So you had these kids coming in with like the California WBC strap fighting against somebody from like Nevada or something.
That's cool.
The Nevada champion, so. It was a good tournament. And then yesterday as well, they had a special ceremony for Cesar Diaz, the Golden Boy boxer that passed away last year in the car accident. And then they also recognized Daniel Twitch Franco, the fighter that was the brain damage. He was put in a coma, last year. And so it was a good overall, good family show, man.
Yeah.
And plus it was free.
Nobody had to pay.
Nobody had to pay to get in,
to watch it, or even to participate in, to fight in it, which is normal in a tournament. You got to pay sometimes up to $50, to compete. So that's totally
great.
free from WBC. I will add that highlight of the event for me was there's a lot of pro boxers there that came in and awarded the medals and the belts. Like Leo Santa Cruz was there.
WBC champions, I assume.
Lucas Matthysse was there.
Okay.
Great part about that is, I guess that was Mathisse's nephew.
Yeah,
he fought in one of the
cool.
one of the elite fights, and he's pretty good.
Yeah, Ezekiel Matthysse. Yeah, I think he's like 19, and he came in from Argentina.
Yeah,
and he
handled it. Yeah,
he handled it. He beat one of the elite guys out of LA in a super middleweight fight, and he looked good, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Lucas has a big fight coming up here too.
Yeah.
Manny Pacquiao. And,
exactly.
We're in Malaysia.
Yeah, in Malaysia.
Who you got?
Are you asking me?
Both of you guys.
Manny.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Man,
Did you see Mathisse's last fight?
No. Well, he won, right?
Yes, he did win.
He fought Takir Hiam.
Yeah, and
the form.
I would say that the discrepancy in talent and punching power was evident. He won because he landed the knockout blow, but the fight was way more competitive than it should have been, and he was getting hit a lot. And the thing that leads me to, and that is not Manny Pacquiao. If that's Manny Pacquiao and you're getting hit that much, and you have the force of,
Did you see Manny Pacquiao's last fight?
Yeah, the one that he won against Jeff Horn. Did you watch the Pacquiao Horn fight?
I watched it.
Who do you think won the Pacquiao Horn fight?
I think Manny won it. Man.
Yeah, of course. So does everybody else except for Marco and a judge we had on a couple weeks ago.
I was actually watching it on a phone. I was with.
He's losing a step, man.
I was with Nancy Rodriguez from the WBC. It was her daughter's quinceañera, and there was about 10 of us huddled around my phone watching the Pacquiao Horn fight. But yeah.
Even from your phone, you could tell that he won, though.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean,
I'm just giving Coach Marco a hard time because we debated this like 2 weeks ago.
Whatever.
Honestly, I think it was it's a money maker, man, for Top Rank to have somebody over there in Australia where they fill it 58,000 people in that Suncor Stadium.
Yeah, that's true. He was kind of exposed in his last fight.
Those judges weren't going to give it to Manny, man. I mean, he won, but I mean,
what do you? I mean, on that fight, I kind of put blame on the promoter for putting it over there. I mean, why would you do that? Just to give it to the guy for one fight, and he's going to be a champion one time, and they're going to hold a championship fight there one time.
At that time last year, I don't think anybody expected Horn to be moving up to 47 either. I mean, I know there was rumors of Horn moving up to 47. Then he became the undisputed champion and decided to drop the titles to vacate and then move up to 47. And honestly, another thing is that Top Rank really doesn't have a lot of fighters at 47. I think they got Horn and they got Jose Benavidez besides Crawford. So I mean,
And he just made his debut at 47.
It had to happen.
So.
You know, it had to happen. So I don't know.
Well, I think the Matthysse Pacquiao fight might be more competitive than we think, just because I feel that Manny's getting older. I feel that he's as he's getting older, he's losing his aggression, and you kind of saw that in the Horn fight.
I don't think it's not going to be a competitive fight. I think Manny's going to outbox him. I just think he's going to go in there and
He's getting KO'd.
Nah.
I just think Lucas Matthysse, if you watch the last fight, it should not have been as competitive as it was.
Yeah.
And that wasn't Manny Pacquiao. And even Manny Pacquiao at this age is another level of opponent compared to Mathisse's last fight. So unless there's some dramatic change in his approach to the fight, which was just a head first and get hit until you can land the one big shot, that was kind of the approach. It was like, I'm going to walk in, and eventually, over time, I'll get to land this one big shot. Only, I don't know that you can walk in against Manny Pacquiao for 7 rounds and eat punches. So I think for that reason, it's kind of
real quickly, I think we're getting would you say we're getting towards the end of Manny Pacquiao's career, right? Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah, he was supposedly retired against Bradley. You know, I was at that fight when he fought Bradley and beat Bradley, and that was supposed to be his last fight. So
I think when you start using your age as a reason for not taking on certain opposition. So I mean, recently, I don't know if you guys saw, but Bob Arum was on a YouTube clip where he said Manny doesn't want to fight Crawford. He would rather fight Lomachenko. And they said, why? And he said, Manny thinks he's too old, basically, to fight Terrence Crawford.
That's my
At that point, you probably should step down.
That leads me to my question. With him getting towards the end of his career, let's say he might have 2 more fights left in him. Who would you like to see Manny Pacquiao fight after Matthysse?
I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him retire. But if he wants to go down to 35, because they say he still has to eat between like 8,000 and 9,000 calories a day to stay up at that weight. If he wants to go back down to 35 and take on Lomachenko, I want to see that, but I want to see it because I think it'll be good for Lomachenko's legacy. I think the win over Manny Pacquiao would be important for building his brand. So I want to see it more for Loma than I do. If we're talking about Manny, I just want to see him retire.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I kind of disagree on that as far as like the whole legacy thing goes. Yeah, Manny's a name, but at this point of his career, I don't know if it even helps Lomachenko, man. I think a fight with Garcia or somebody else would
see Triple G and Canelo, and then to see the big boys, Wilder and Joshua. I hope it. I guess. I hope they cement it, in writing and get that contract done and get it out the way, so the promotions could get started. I mean that's another fight that if they're smart, it could end. It could be a trilogy fight also. If it's competitive, but the way Wilder fights, you could outbox him, but he might knock you out, so that'll lead to. That could lead to wanting to see a second fight and a third fight, just the way that he fights. So
what our man just showed me here is an Instagram post, by the way, that showed that it says that he shattered the attendance record, which blows my mind because I was there for the Rubio fight and I have no idea how you could get more people in there. I really don't. They had bleachers up in every section. They had standing room tickets. I'm blown away by that.
So and that was from Tom. It's not like just some
exactly
okey doke person.
That
shattered.
That was Tom Loeffler who put it up. It wasn't just somebody who
they squeezed
put it up on Instagram.
They squeezed everybody in there, huh?
Yeah, it was. Like I said, that's probably the last time we'll ever see Triple G fight at the StubHub. I don't think we'll see him at the StubHub again.
Probably not. Probably not. He's too big now, and there's too few fights left probably, and everybody who are really big names too. So there's not really a need for a tune-up fight.
Yeah, but that fight, man, between Joshua and Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, that's a hell of a fight if it takes place. That's something that everybody wants to see. I know, for most people, the heavyweights, that's the division. That's what everybody wants, is that heavyweight title. They want to see a world heavyweight champion fight, and when people think of boxing, they think of heavyweight champions, and
So we didn't get sirens this time, but
No, you
we
got
have whatever that was.
Motorcycles or four-wheelers.
Maybe a
going through.
motorcycle, yeah.
No, but with that fight, I mean, I think it could go either way. I think it should be here in the United States.
Well, it's been a while since we've had an American champ. I know Wilder is an American champion, but I mean, he doesn't have as many belts as Joshua has. And then prior to Joshua was the Klitschko brothers. Or
No,
mostly
we had
the Klitschko.
we had the kid from St. Louis that was training out here at the Rock that got knocked out. In
Charles Martin?
Charles Martin.
Yeah,
he
Charles
doesn't.
Martin.
He doesn't
He
count.
was a title holder. He wasn't a champion, huh?
He didn't pick up that belt.
Yeah,
that was Tyson Fury's belt.
he was borrowing it.
Yeah, he
or
borrowed
gave
that belt
it to
from
him.
Tyson Fury for one fight.
He doesn't count.
And then handed it right back over to Anthony Joshua.
Right, but no,
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's sell out Wembley, and but were you saying that
Well, so
it's already locked up or something?
well, no. What happened was originally I think they wanted to do the fight at Wembley, and something occurred where because now there's only 10 weeks to the September date, they gave this package deal to Deontay Wilder 4 weeks ago, according to Eddie Hearn.
Yeah.
And this was reported by Boxing News. So Eddie Hearn, in a quote that was in Boxing News, said, "We gave them that package 4 weeks ago, so the timeline is kind of messed up. They came back and responded to it. We agree, but it was for a September date. Now Canelo and Triple G are in September, and we don't have enough time to build up before that September date. So we're really realistically going to have to do it in October. The venue that we wanted will no longer be available, so now they're targeting Eddie Hearn according to Eddie Hearn, he is targeting Wales. So he wants to have the fight in Wales this time. And there's no doubt that they'll get a bigger gate, not necessarily more money from the gate, but they'll get a bigger gate over there, I would think, than they would over here.
And the thing is that I don't know if the PBC has, if it were to go to some type of purse bid, say it were to be, if they could negotiate it and say the organizational bodies wanted it to happen and to go to purse bid, they'd get outbid like they did against Povetkin. They forced Wilder to go to Russia, and that fight never fell through, of course, because Povetkin tested positive.
Yeah.
There's money over there. There's investors in Europe that will invest big money to make sure that fight's there in Europe. So.
Not just that, because it's a matchroom boxing fight and Eddie Hearn has this new contract with DAZN, you guys are all probably going to have to buy the DAZN app if you want to see it. So it's not going to be a traditional pay-per-view. It's in all likelihood going to be on DAZN. So that's one more app that will
something tells me it's going to be over there, just to be in Joshua's, to his advantage. And I don't think Wilder's I don't think he's opposed to fighting over there, because he would love to just steal the show.
It'd be the most money he'd ever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, steal the show. But I agree. It's like it's a toss 'em, right? It's a pick 'em. You could flip a coin and say one or the other of these guys could do it. But the truth is, and I've said this to Marco a number of times when we bring this up, my feeling is when you watch that Luis Ortiz fight, regardless of what the judges say, Luis Ortiz was winning that fight. He was superior boxer, and that was evident. He was a better boxer than Deontay Wilder was.
Luis had that fight, man.
Yeah, he did.
They should have stopped that fight in the 9th round, right?
And
they didn't stop it. They let it go.
Yeah.
Instead of the doctor from the New York State Athletic Commission checking in between rounds, he waited till that 1 minute in between rounds was up, then called time, then checked them out. And he should have been checking them in between rounds.
In between rounds. And not just that.
That's right.
It's also, I think my opinion is that he should have been ahead on the scorecards. And I know he was not officially ahead on the scorecards, but Deontay Wilder won maybe 2 rounds of that fight. And they're the rounds where Luis Ortiz went down and was hurt. So I look at it and I think that there's no way that Deontay Wilder outboxes Anthony Joshua over a period of 12 rounds. If it goes all the way, 12 rounds, then certainly Anthony Joshua will win. The only question is, can Deontay Wilder get the shot in? And he has been able to every single time. So there's no reason to believe that he can't. He's done it against every fighter he's ever faced, the exception being Stavern went 12 rounds with him, and then he knocked him out in the first round the second time. So I think it's to me, it's just, does the shot get in? And that's why it's a pick 'em, because he could land it.
I think he
And
can,
that's
because Joshua, he gets tired. I
Sure.
mean,
He's got a lot of muscle mass.
Yeah,
Joshua
he
could
gets
turn
tired.
it into a war too. He won't necessarily. He doesn't necessarily have to box. If he were to come out the first round swinging and hurt Wilder,
He could.
I mean, they're both big boys.
I mean, that's true because you see what Ortiz. I mean, he had him.
Yeah, I've seen Wilder one night. We were at the Watson gym in Lake Balboa.
Okay.
And I get an email about 6 o'clock at night. It says, "Hey man, Wilder's showing up at 9 if you want to come out for a media workout." 9 o'clock at night. So I go out there, man. I drive out to Lake Balboa, man, and I swear this dude has like the skinniest legs I've ever seen, man.
He's a skinny dude.
You would think that Wilder, just like from the waist down, was just like a super flyweight or something. Like it's like a SpongeBob body, bro.
He was barely 212 in his last fight. Like he didn't even make 215
like
in that fight against Ortiz.
He's yoked, but like he has no legs, man. So I mean, if he gets, they've held up this long though. I mean, so they've held up against Ortiz.
The power comes from somewhere.
Yeah, it comes from somewhere, man.
Because it's not from technique and it's not from his
Yeah,
legs.
but you know, if Joshua lands the punches that Ortiz was landing, he'll finish him.
Yeah.
Right. If he gets those in, I mean, he goes down. He doesn't stay up on the ropes. He goes down. But I still think it's, man, I'm rooting for Wilder, but I still think, mainly because he's American, but
sure.
You know, I still think he's got the puncher's chance, but he's got a little bit more than just the puncher's chance, you know, because he does have some reach, and then he's just awkward in his delivery.
Very awkward.
Yeah.
Throws from a lot of different angles.
Yeah. So and that's hard, and that's hard to prepare for, and that's hard to that's hard to avoid. And to me, it's very similar to and I've said this before, when I have a debut fighter, or even somebody has like 3 or 4 fights in the amateurs, and they're going up against somebody who has 0 fights. And usually what happens is, or even in sparring, somebody that's inexperienced and with like 0 fights, they just start swinging all over the place.
Yeah.
And almost 90%, 100% of the time, they'll catch the experienced fighter with at least one good shot. They almost catch them all the time with the very first shot, you know, because they're just, you know, they don't know what to do really. So they're just like, okay, let me move and then just start punching, you know. And the other guy doesn't know what to do. He doesn't expect it.
Deontay Wilder is a great finisher, but Anthony Joshua is also resilient. I mean, we've seen him get back up off the canvas from hard shots.
I feel
and
he's
stuff like that.
I feel his chin's a little suspect though.
I mean, isn't everybody's when you fight Deontay Wilder though?
At heavyweight too.
That's what I mean. Anybody who fights
suspect.
Deontay Wilder at heavyweight is suspect. Yeah, anybody who fights at heavyweight has a suspect
Yeah.
chin. Which, what I mean by that, before people go off on me, is when people are that large, right? Everybody has a glass
One
jaw
shot,
at
you're
that
done.
size. Yeah, it takes one shot and you're done. It's not really a critique of anyone's chin individually. What I'm saying is that no heavyweight can just take shots from Deontay Wilder. That's, or Anthony Joshua.
You know, there was an ESPN, one of these little science things that they do, little clips. And it only takes like 9 pounds of pressure to knock somebody out. If you hit them in the right spot, it only takes 9 pounds of pressure. Because you move your chin a certain way, it pinches a vein, stops the oxygen to your brain just for that quick second, and you're knocked out. And when Manny Pacquiao got hit, they said he got hit with like 900 pounds of pressure when he got knocked out.
By Marquez?
By Marquez.
Yeah.
And it was equivalent to him getting hit with a sledgehammer at 9 miles an hour, they said.
My
And
God.
It's like, wow. You know, it's just and it happened so fast.
It
happened
looked
in the
like
blink of-
that.
happened like in the blink of an eye, you know, and they're showing, you know, the eye movements and everything. They're on this little science thing, and
Well, technically, he was dead for like 2 minutes. So.
and you watch like the reactions, like the people in the Philippines watching it, and they're like screaming, "Oh my God, he's dead!" Like,
He looks
scary.
seriously. It's a scary knockout. There's very few. Like I think that one is right up there with me. Do you guys remember Sergio Martinez knockout of Paul Williams in their second fight?
Yeah.
Both those fights are just, those knockouts are terrifying knockouts to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That Paul Williams that was devastating, man.
Paul Williams is even worse because Manny Pacquiao kind of falls face forward. So does Paul Williams.
Yeah, you
but
don't
Paul
see his
Williams,
face.
you see his face and his eyes are open.
No, well, you know what? You see his eyes, and like he's still awake, but his mouth's open. You could tell that he's thinking, "Get up," but my body can't move.
His body can't
you know?
do it.
And
No way.
you could see it in his eyes. He's thinking, "I just got knocked out bad."
For sure.
You know.
For sure. the same time, so in terms of, we talked about Anthony Joshua and fighting abroad and what that means for people. So I have this, I'm looking at this set of heavyweights that's coming up, heavyweight bouts that are coming up. So Chisora versus Takam, White versus Parker, Dillian White versus Joseph Parker is going to be on pay-per-view in the UK. And those are both former opponents of Anthony Joshua. Takam, same thing, former opponent of Anthony Joshua. It seems like if you just fight Anthony Joshua, all of a sudden you're like a name that can go. Like he makes you a star. Even the people in losses like White and Parker are now going to go and fight on pay-per-view in the UK. The guy's he has the Midas touch for sure.
Exactly.
So I mean they got to keep some action going in the heavyweight division. But real quick, back to the Joshua Wilder. Does that fight ends in knockout either side, right? There's no way that fight goes to a decision.
It may.
It could.
It
really? It could. And that's what I'm saying. I think
it depends on Joshua. It all depends on Joshua. Here's the thing. Wilder wins, it's a knockout. I don't see Wilder winning the decision. Wilder
100%.
wins, it's a knockout. Joshua wins, it's a
Could have a decision.
It's a decision. It could go either way, but I'm more like 80-20 that it's going to be a decision for Joshua. There's a 20% chance that he'll catch him, but I just don't see him, one, landing anything flush or hard enough to hurt Wilder and knock him out, and two, I don't think he's going to put enough barrage of punches on him to have somebody step in and stop it where he hurts Wilder or Wilder just can't fire back. I think he's going to use his height to try to box, try to use that jab and try to box. But it's going to be tough, like you said, because all that muscle takes up a lot of oxygen, and he's gonna tire down.
He has a lot of muscle mass.
I can see him getting tired in like 7 or 8.
Exactly, and that's the
maybe getting caught.
And that's where the later rounds, the 9th, 10th, 11th round, Wilder catches him kind of the way he did Ortiz, and
yeah. I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
Basically, all the muscle mass, everything just wearing on you over a period of time.
Yeah,
and if he's sometime late catching a shot that you wouldn't have caught early on.
Yeah, if he's gonna have to use his boxing skills, I mean that's he's gonna be outputting a lot of energy, So, to box somebody means you got to be quick on your feet, quick with your head movement, quick with your punches. Not so much power, but yeah, he's gonna be using the jab a lot. Yeah, I see him getting tired in like 8 or 9, and Wilder skinny legs still getting him in there.
No, exactly. I think the first 3-4 rounds, Wilder's just gonna be on an attack. Then he'll settle down. He might get caught with the counter, slow down.
Yeah.
Middle rounds go for Joshua, and then it all depends on the type of conditioning that Joshua's in, because those later it's going to come down to those championship rounds, and I think that's where the knockout will happen. It'll be, like I said, if Joshua gets rid of him, it'll be in the later rounds. Or, I'm sorry, if Wilder gets rid of him, it'll be in the later rounds, and then Joshua, if he's able to hold off and his conditioning is good, then he'll win a decision.
But, are the odds out on these guys already? Vegas odds?
I'm sure they are. I don't know. Doesn't Vegas just put odds out on everything?
I know that the odds are out for the Canelo, and Triple G is like a -170 right now. So
okay.
Yeah, and I think Canelo's a +130. So there'll be a lot of Mexicans betting on Canelo. There'll be a lot of Mexicans betting on Triple G too, though. So I mean,
I agree that Triple G's following here people in Southern California seem to favor Triple G more.
Yeah,
I do.
I think it's the Texas Mexicans and down near the border towns, Arizona, Texas, and then of course in Mexico itself, you got a lot more Canelo fans than G fans. He's got a stronghold on Texas. I wouldn't even be surprised if they fought in Dallas.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Triple G might prefer it.
Yeah, so
to fight in Dallas.
We'll see what happens. But I know out here in Southern California, G's got a big market, man. He's staying out here in Santa Monica. He trains in Big Bear. He's fought at the StubHub Center, and he sells the Mexican style. So
like I said, you never hear anything bad about him either.
No.
Which is
well,
odd.
Actually,
odd in
if
boxing.
you read as many comments as I do, you hear all kinds of bad things about him.
Really?
You see people criticizing him over Martirosyan and saying it's all his fault,
but he doesn't. He doesn't do anything stupid or like Adrien Broner or any of these outspoken boxers.
Yeah,
you
he
know.
ain't talking about I want to fight somebody so I can kill them or he can kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you guys see that? Did you see
No.
that?
Which
So-
one?
So
Adrien Broner was. Go ahead.
Was it last night or the night before? Broner goes on the Instagram, right? He says,
I didn't see this.
It
Oh,
says,
okay. What is it?
he says, I want to get in a fight with somebody, so I can kill them or they can kill me, and just leaves it at that.
Man,
He had like 4 or 5 posts right
yeah,
after.
and then he's
just,
like, I'm not all right. I need help.
he does
I'm
that
not in my right
quite.
mind.
There's
He's
several
bipolar.
times before where he has posted, series of comments. I recall, and this is just based on my recollection. I can't cite a specific source, but didn't he post a bunch of comments on Instagram or Twitter about suicide, needing
Yeah.
help,
Yeah.
doing all that kind of. This is like a few times
And
we've seen
boxing
this.
is not the sport for somebody that's in that frame of mind.
yeah, it's
And
only
I
going to
think
get worse.
It's only going to get worse. Exactly.
Look at Edwin Valero, right? I mean,
Oh, my goodness,
You took
yeah.
took the words right out of my mouth, man. I mean, for one, you have to. There's something not right in your mind, anyways. If you want to get into a ring and get hit to
Yeah.
take this punishment, I mean, seriously,
yeah.
something's not there. But then you develop this high of, especially as a champion, of being on top, and then when you're not anymore, you're just in this low place. Or you're turning to drugs, you're turning to alcohol, you're turning to this, that. Then with the accumulation of the pugilistic dementia that starts to take place in somebody's head, man, it's not a good spot for Broner to be in if he's already having these types of thoughts, man. If this is true, if this is real, he needs to seek help, or his family needs to seek help for him. You know, I mean, because it's one thing to sell yourself and be to be flamboyant and to have that type of perception, a public perception that you want to sell yourself as a bad guy. But if you're really mentally going through problems, man, somebody needs to seek help for this young man.
One thing I should clarify is that I have no idea if this is real or not real, and I certainly wouldn't criticize Adrien Broner for it, particularly in the event that it is real. If we've seen anything in the media recently, we know that it's completely plausible that someone in Broner's position could be going through that type of mental trauma or that experience. So I take it seriously, and it's not the first time that he's done it. Although I am not the biggest fan of Adrien Broner, that really doesn't have anything to do with whatever his mental state is right now.
Yeah, well, I almost feel like when he says something like that, I mean, there's got to be some organization, the State Athletic Commission, or somebody
That's a good
that
point.
needs to, I wouldn't ban him for life or anything like that, but they ought to suspend him and give him some kind of mental evaluation, because it's for his well-being.
Yeah.
And then he could hurt somebody. I mean, he was in Vegas, and I think he punched somebody in the face, some random person that probably said, "Hey, AB, you suck,"
I know
or
what you're
something.
saying. So not a ban, but it
yeah.
it could impact your ability to be
Yeah.
licensed within a state.
And I'd hate to see, and I don't want to compare him to like Edwin Valero or anybody of the likes, but he could turn around and do something violent and hurt somebody, and that'd be a shame, and that would make boxing look even would hurt boxing,
And that's where the organization, the bodies, the sanctioning bodies, the organizations need to step in, and they need to have like a national medical association. They can disagree on the bouts and they can disagree on the politics all they want, but there needs to be some type of national medical organization that all the sanctioning bodies work through, no matter what state you're in, because a lot of states do not have athletic commissions that regulate combative sports. Okay, Iowa, for instance, they have a state athletic commission, but they don't have anybody that oversees combat sports.
Okay.
So for instance, there was some type of cage fighting that was gonna take place in Nebraska. Nebraska was real strict on it, didn't want it there. They moved it to Iowa. There's no oversight of it. They had it at a bar, right? I was reading this article because I did an article about Daniel Franco. It wrote something up about Daniel Franco, who essentially he got hurt in Iowa. That's where he got.
Yeah.
That's where he went into that coma, was in Iowa. But they have this MMA fight at a bar, right? They have somebody from the commission there, but he's just there. There's no oversight of combat sports. They bring somebody in, a 21-year-old mentally challenged guy that has like the mind frame of a 5-year-old, and they let him get his ass kicked by this MMA fighter. And they're asking the commission why, and he says, well, people pay good money to watch people get their ass kicked.
That's crazy.
Those were his words, man. It's like,
yeah.
I think it's like Alabama, South Carolina, there's Tennessee, there's a handful of like 7 or 8 states down south, that don't have any oversight of combative sports.
Yeah, I
They
think that's
just
crazy.
Bare knuckle fighting. They do it all, and they don't care.
Yeah, I think for me and for anyone who's watched and in conversations I've had with Marco in the past, I don't think a fighter should take any more damage than they absolutely must take throughout the course of their career or throughout the course of a fight. There are a lot of fights that I feel, could be stopped sooner by the corner or other people because of that. And so I think watching people just get demolished, I'm not sure where that comes in.
Okay, so
Yeah.
with Twitch, going with Daniel Franco, he gets hurt in Iowa. So he had got knocked out here by some kid from San Diego. He had fought on a bash card. He had got knocked out, right? Couple weeks later, fights down in Mexico, and TJ knocks this kid out like in 9 seconds, right? And then he's fighting in Iowa. And the fight takes place a week before the second Ward Kovalov fight. Daniel's a Rock Nation fighter, like Ward was at the time. I couldn't figure out why he's not on that card in Vegas. The only thing I'm thinking is maybe neurologicals. You get knocked out in California, you have a suspension. There's like a
mandatory
suspension.
Mandatory suspension, yeah.
Right? So that's where I'm saying, and I'm just using Daniel as an example. I think if you're knocked out in California and you have a suspension in California, that suspension should stay in play in every state, whether it be Nevada, Iowa, New York. And that's where you have a national medical board where they pull a book and say, okay, well, this guy fought so many rounds and he was cut at a Thompson event, or this guy was cut, in Arizona. He had a fight last June and we're barely in July and he had no go.
Yeah, a KO, it's a legit suspension too. It's like a 120-day suspension if you get knocked out. Yeah, Robert, it's like
because we see the superficial wounds, we see the cuts, we see the lip busts, we see the broken hands, but we don't see the internal injuries. We don't really see if there's a concussion or not. We don't know what type of issues are going on internally. You could be anything, man, and it's dangerous.
In California, I don't believe you even need to be knocked out to get suspended. So, for instance, if you just take a beating in a fight, you'll still get suspended, just not for the same period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, and that's where they have to come in to me, and do a better job nationally,
Yeah.
Well, it's a shame that it's 2018, and as we're talking about this, it feels like all these other sports are with the times, or they're taking care of their athletes, or at least moving in that direction. It just feels like boxing, it's like really, really antiquated.
Yeah,
it's like
there's electronic. Computers, bro. How easy would it be to have the electronic medical records on these guys in a certain database, and you look it up and make it public if need be. I know because of HIPAA you might not be able to because of the HIPAA laws, but I mean, make that where you have certain doctors in certain states, a handful of doctors in New York, or a handful of doctors in Florida, Texas, wherever, that can get into that database and use their, log in with your medical number, your medical ID, and you see what his background is before you do the checkups on him or not.
Yeah.
I know New York is getting real big on it. They've been sued a couple times now, and now I think it's like a $10 million insurance bond that they have to have for each fighter. So.
Yeah, well, Broner's definitely putting attention to the mental health of boxers. you know?
I agree.
So hopefully something gets addressed.
So a couple things we should talk about before we sign off today. So former Adrien Broner opponent actually fought this weekend on Showtime. There were 3 fights on Showtime. They took place in Dallas. We were actually talking before about fights in Dallas and drawing a crowd. So Errol Spence drew a pretty good crowd from the looks of it.
14,000?
Yeah.
Over 14,000 at the Ford Center?
Yeah, the Ford Center. So he was at the Ford Center this weekend. So over 14. So good for him. Dallas native.
Yeah.
So he's in front of his hometown for the first time in a long time. Certainly, I think for the first time since he's been televised.
Yeah, it was a big fight for him. I mean, as far as logistically and fan-wise.
Yeah.
But
you're referencing the fact that he won by first round knockout.
Yeah, KO'd the guy in the first round. But back to that Granados fight.
Yeah.
So you had Granados going up against Javier Fortuna. Who was moving up in weight. I know Fortuna's fought at 30 and 35, so he's moving up to 40 to fight Granados. Get to the 4th round. You get Fortuna, who gets deducted 2 points without warning. He gets deducted the first point for rabbit punching.
Yeah.
The second one for holding.
Did you think
wow.
Did you think that was warranted? By the way,
No, neither.
I didn't either.
Point.
Yeah.
Neither point.
I mean, he had been warned multiple times. I can see maybe saying certainly not for rabbit punching. He'd been warned for holding.
The holding.
So I don't really understand the rabbit punch deduction. If you want to give him a holding deduction because you've given him a hard warning, then okay, it's still kind of.
And it was kind of weird with the official because it wasn't your traditional grab the hand, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point.
They went on and kept fighting.
They kept fighting. He's like 1 point.
Wow.
Like
he didn't even stop the action?
No, never stopped the action.
Wow.
Yes.
They were kept fighting,
He's
and
like
then he turns around and realizes they're still fighting, and then separates them.
So he's like judging and reffing at the same time?
Yeah.
It was really weird.
It's kind of weird. So the same round,
That's fun.
they get tangled up in the corner, and Granados kind of shoves them, and Fortuna falls through the ropes, hits his head, kind of like I think we were talking earlier, it was more like a whiplash.
Yeah, like he missed it from the looks of it because they played it from several different angles. So he's suspended by the ropes. He's literally hanging with his knees bent over the ropes, upside down. But so he falls
From
all
the top
way,
rope?
From the middle rope. He went through the center rope.
Okay.
And his knees caught, so he's hanging upside down. They showed the replay from multiple angles, and it did appear that he missed the stairs, but apparently had some whiplash effect because he was saying he couldn't move his neck afterwards. So after the 2 points being deducted, you can make a case that he probably won the first couple rounds.
Yeah.
So he won a few rounds, then got 2 points deducted, but then went through the ropes, and they took him out on the stretcher. And just like here, you have to go 4 rounds before they go to the scorecards, and they had only gone 3 and some change. They were right at the end of the fourth. I think it was like the last 10 seconds of the fourth. So they had to call it a no decision.
Wow.
Yeah. So
well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Then in the co-main event, you had a kid out of South Central LA, Danny Roman.
Yeah.
WBA champion. He went up against Moses Flores.
Yeah.
His toughest fight to date. Well, on paper was supposed to be his toughest fight to date. I know Danny real good. He's fought a lot of fights at the Thompson cards there in Ontario, California.
Ontario, yeah.
And so, kind of seen him work his way up through the rankings. I know that his last 2 or 3 fights have been in Japan. He captured the title in Japan, defended it in Japan, and then this is his first big Showtime fight. He's been on Showtime in the past. I think he was on Showtime 2 years ago. It's against Adam Lopez. They fought in Atlantic City, but it was one of those Showtime Extreme cards.
Yeah.
And so he went out and he boxed for 12 rounds and won a unanimous decision.
Yeah. And it was a good competitive fight. It was a fun fight to watch, but I think it was clear that he did win.
Yeah, it was, going back to the CompuBox numbers, he landed the same amount of body shots as he did head shots.
Wow.
And he landed at 50% on both the body and the head, going to the body and the head. So he was very, very consistent to the body and the head. And you could, throughout the fight, you could just hear those shots hitting, those body shots hitting Flores.
Yeah.
I mean, by the 5th round, Flores' shots were just like little slap punches. He was fighting back, but I mean, it wasn't anything that was going to hurt Danny.
For sure.
So, I mean, now the word is I'm pretty good friends with Pablo De La Hoya, which is Diego De La Hoya's dad.
Okay.
And they're looking to set up a fight in September, maybe on the Canelo card between Danny Roman and Diego De La Hoya.
Oh, cool.
So that would be for the championship, the WBA strap that Danny has. So we'll see what happens there. And then of course the main fight.
And yeah, of course the primary
Ocampo.
Errol Spence versus Ocampo, which went. You know what? You know what's interesting? I actually thought it was a pretty good competitive round right up until that last body shot. Like they were trading some shots. He wasn't exactly totally outclassed. And then just landed that tremendous body blow, and that was it.
Those people, they got to see a whole 2 minutes and 52 seconds of Earl.
Let me ask you something. So I have a question for you about this. So
Sure.
Errol Spence, who's fighting at the highest level of the welterweight division at this point, goes through the training camp, gets all this, gets in the ring, gets to go 1 round, right? Does this hurt him in some way? Because he doesn't really now he's going to have to wait, go through another training camp, find another opponent. It's almost as if he didn't fight, to be honest, because he just went through the 1 round. So does it cause more ring rust, do you think? Or is it beneficial to have a 1-round KO? Isn't it better for him to get rounds through?
I think it's fine. It's somewhat beneficial because he gets in there. he does what he's supposed to do and doesn't take any damage.
True.
He'll be back in the gym, minus any injuries, minus any cuts, and he'll just be kind of smooth sailing into the next fight. You know, as long as he doesn't, as long as he didn't overtrain. But I mean, he knocked the guy out, so I doubt he overtrained. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. It's not going to affect him at all.
No,
I don't think it'll affect him one bit. You know, I think
he'll
get his rest, and then he'll get back.
Yeah, I mean, he'll get his rest and everything. I just feel like at this point, it's almost like having a layoff. It seems like it's similar to just not fighting, isn't it?
No, because you go through the whole process of making,
he went through the training camp.
making weight. You know, the training camp, making weight, fighting in front of a crowd. You know, part of being a great boxer, part of being a boxer is getting in front of a crowd, is getting in the ring. You know, and then showcasing your talent, and that's as much a big part of it as it is going through 6 rounds or 12 rounds, you know, is getting to the show.
Yeah.
You know,
feeling the lights and everything, because it's a big crowd. He had 14,000.
I mean, the only thing that is not beneficial is not getting the rounds in so that you can work on certain things, you know, so that you can perfect your jab or perfect your game plan. Or execute whatever you practice in the training camp. That's the only thing that negatively affects them, is not getting the rounds and not getting experience against a more challenging opponent, because a more challenging opponent always pushes you to be more creative in your attack.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the only thing that could hurt him. But I'm interested. We talked about him for Crawford, right?
Yeah, Crawford obviously just fought Jeff Horn and then Errol Spence here. But it actually didn't sound to me in that post-fight press conference like he was very interested in fighting Bud Crawford next. So they asked him, and they threw out prospects, because Sean Porter and Garcia are going to fight for the vacant WBC title, the title that was vacated by Keith Thurman. And he seemed more interested in pursuing the WBC title, or the winner of that fight, than going on to fight Crawford, at least right now.
Well, I find it interesting because I think that Spence has a bigger fan base already than Terrence Crawford.
Oh yes,
yeah, looks like it,
definitely.
And he hasn't really. I mean, he's been around. I don't know. I don't say he's been. They've been around the same time. You know,
Top Ranks already said that they're gonna move. Crawford's next fight will be in Omaha. So he's going back to
so he'll
back to his home state.
That's his moneymaker right there.
I think, well, in all fairness, Errol Spence was in his home state for this one.
Yeah.
But I also think that because of the Charlos, so every time you see Jermell Charlo, you see Jermall and Errol Spence. And every time you see Jermall, you see Jermell and Errol Spence. And every time you see Errol Spence, you see both Charlos. So it's like, because the three of them train together and they're such a tight-knit group, whenever one of them's on TV, all three of them are on TV. They're in the corner. They're doing all this stuff. So you kind of get visibility to them even when they're not fighting or training, right? So
I think they're going to end up setting up Spence with an interim fight for the interim title, maybe against Jesse Vargas. I can see him fighting Vargas. I can see Amir Khan coming to the United States and fighting Amir Khan for an interim bout, with the winner taking on the winner of Garcia and Porter.
Yeah,
it's gonna stay within PBC. I don't see Top Rank, like I was telling you guys earlier. I don't see Top Rank crossing any type of promotional lines. Bud Crawford will probably fight Jose Benavidez.
Yeah, that seems likely.
Right now. That's probably the odds. You know, the odds are probably on that fight taking place in Nebraska. Which would
for the next one for
the next fight.
Wow.
Would be a big fight.
I mean, Jose Benavidez had that big knockout the other week, so makes a lot of sense.
There's only a handful of fighters that I see Spence fighting after this, and like I said, Vargas is one of them. Broner's one of them. I mentioned to you guys earlier. I can see Broner moving up to 47. He hasn't had a lot of success at 47, but you know, Broner is still a very big name. He's got a big fan base behind him. He can sell a lot of tickets, you know. So I mean, whether that fight could happen probably in New York City, you know, and so it wouldn't be very much for these fans to travel from Ohio up to New York for that fight. You know, I think Spence is originally from like Brooklyn. I know he had a fight out there when he fought I want to say Van Haren, and so he was from Brooklyn. He lives in Texas now, but I think he was born in Brooklyn. So he's got a big fan base in New York as well. Amir Khan, like I said, that's another name, and of course Jesse Vargas, who fought to a draw with with Broner. I mean, I think that would be a good fight too for an interim title.
Yeah.
Vargas is a big guy. Vargas could probably eat his punches for a while, but those body shots I think would end up just breaking Jesse down. Jesse's a good dude, but Spence is on a whole nother level.
He is, yeah.
He's on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Those body shots are pretty wicked.
Although I actually think I would favor Bud Crawford in a fight between those two. I think Terrence Crawford has just demonstrated a little bit more skill-wise. Even though he just moved up to 147, I think he proved that he's certainly capable of bringing his power to that level. So,
Yeah.
I think one way or another.
That's a tough fight for me to pick. I like Spence. I like his.
I like them both. Yeah.
Yeah. I just like his accuracy, his sharpness, the way he throws his punches.
I think he gets hit more than Terrence Crawford.
Really?
That's what I base it on. Is Errol Spence looks to me to get hit more than does Terrence Crawford.
Yeah. Well, that'd be a great fight. I want to see it.
Yeah, and then I think the last fight that's coming up, I know that just got announced, was Mikey Garcia and Robert Easter at the Staples Center.
Staples.
Easter's got like a foot on him. Like he's
he's
taller.
quite a bit taller. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the face off, and you just go by that, you think, man, I mean, is he the tallest fighter that Mikey's faced?
I cannot think of someone who is taller that
Yeah.
Mikey's faced. Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how he deals with that, because he's got a high IQ in the ring. He's a good boxer. He's a great boxer, technically sound. So I'm interested in seeing how he approaches a taller fighter, because we've seen him break everybody else down. But what's he gonna do with somebody who's got more reach?
True.
I think he knocks Easter out. Man.
Yeah.
Easter didn't look good against Kami, and he didn't look good against
that's what-
Shakakov. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
And-
agree. I just don't think they're the same level of fighter.
No.
Yeah,
No,
they're just not the same level of
no.
fighter. So and that's nothing against Robert Easter. I just think Mikey's had better competition and it has demonstrated superior skills
And plus,
So I
Mikey's
think-
going to be fighting in Southern California for the first time in like years. I don't remember.
I don't remember the last time he did.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't remember the last time he's fought in Southern California. I think it's been like 10 years, man. So to have Mikey fight in SoCal's big.
So he's gonna be hyped up.
Yeah.
He's gonna be ready. for his fight.
David Benavidez will probably be on that card. I know he was on the card, then he was off the card. He was on the card. He was off
Against
the card.
who?
Not for sure yet, but we'll go back to PBC and fight another PBC card. There was some issues there with him in Top Rank. Top Rank had said they signed him, and he's still under contract with Samson. So going back to Samson, which is So we'll probably see.
Is he the best 168 in the world? I think so.
Benavidez?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll find out.
I don't know. Zordo's pretty good, man. I mean, that would
Ramirez?
be. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a pretty good fight there. But
I've seen about 20 to 25 rounds of David and Zurdo sparring.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How's that?
Can't tell you. But
You can keep
I
it a
think
secret.
David.
But it's entertaining? How about that?
Oh,
Is it entertaining?
Beyond entertaining.
Okay,
but
cool.
but based off, I mean, I've been in both of those guys' camps a few times, and based off what I've seen, I mean, I think David's the best 168 in the world, and based on I have the same sparring partners against Zurdo, and then against David. And I mean, David just demolishes everybody.
Yeah, because at 68 you got Groves, DeGale.
Yeah, it's all basically the World Boxing Super Series guys.
Eubank.
Chris
Colin
Eubank.
Smith.
I want to see those guys fight Zurdo and fight David.
It's all the World
but
Boxing
they're all
Super
over
Series
there,
guys.
though.
The other big guys are World Boxing Super Series guys.
I think the only other one really that may pose a little bit of a danger is that Uzgata guy.
Uzcategui, yeah.
Uzcategui.
Yeah.
I mean, but besides that, yeah. I know I talked to Dimitri Bivol a few times and sat down with Bivol, interviewed him, and he said he wouldn't mind dropping down to 68 either. Cause
really?
Yeah, he's
That
He's got,
dude's
like,
serious,
10
man.
fights or
he's
something?
a small light heavyweight. He's not as
But
big.
he's a serious light heavyweight. Yeah.
So if he were to drop down to 68,
That'd be cool.
man, that'd be real good. That'd be good for that division, or even G moving up. I mean,
Yeah.
So we'll see, but.
No, yeah, that would definitely be cool. So I have a question here. So from Boxeo, who's actually a good friend of the show. He's asking about standing 8 counts in professional boxing and the way that they do in the amateurs. Would we benefit from having standing 8 counts in pro boxing? So in Deontay Wilder's case against Luis Ortiz, for instance, should he have gotten a standing 8 count?
No, I mean, I think that's what separates the element of amateur and pro.
One of the key differences
Yeah.
is the standing 8 count.
Yeah, it's
And that's a good question because I'm actually looking it up now because I know they
do
used
it
to-
sometimes,
They used to
yeah.
have standing 8 counts.
They used to.
They
yeah.
used to.
well, it
That's
depends
true.
what state it is, right? It
Yeah.
does. California, Nevada, New York is different.
So 88, it was
it depends
eliminated.
on what rules.
Eliminated in 88.
Yeah, they used to
So-
have standing 8 count, but they
yeah.
haven't had it for most of my life, actually.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'd rather see somebody get knocked out, man. If it's an accumulation of punches and they can't defend themselves, then you just call it.
Yeah,
you wave the fight off.
It's kind of a safety issue, right? I mean, you give them a standing 8. Yeah, maybe they could stand in front of you and wobble around. They make it out, and then they're going to get beat up again some more. They're going to take 4 or 5 more unnecessary punches.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing, man. If you're getting hit and you're not defending yourself, why stop it to count? Let them hit you 2 or 3 more times, jump in and wave off the fight.
Yeah.
I think it's a truer verdict for the fight, right? Which is to say that rather than interrupt with the standing
Exactly.
8, if you let it play out for a few more moments and it results in a stoppage, it's a more accurate stoppage and more accurate depiction of what should have happened in the fight. Whereas a standing 8 could give someone time to sort of regain their
Yeah.
steam,
Well, I
you
think,
know.
and then I think you could probably get carried away with standing 8 counts too.
When do you stop? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
you can-
it's a decision. It becomes you bring in the human element to it on each different ref of when to.
And we know how that goes already today. Yeah, 2-point deductions.
Yeah,
in one.
right.
Yeah.
No. So exactly, man. I'm I don't have a problem with not having a standing 8 count in pro boxing. Like I said, it kind of works out where if the fighter's not able to defend themselves, if they're taking an accumulation or barrage of punches, and that referee actually sees it in their eyes, because there's a look that these boxers give you. You know, I've sat ringside for several fights, hundreds of fights where I've sat ringside, and they get that 100-mile stare, that glare in their eyes, and you know they're gone. You can tell that they're gone.
They're
You know,
like, "Phew."
yeah. So
They're not there.
Yeah, so I guess there it is. We're sort of unanimous on that one.
Good question.
And-
we got to send that guy a T-shirt.
Man, good
Oh,
question.
we're going to. Yeah,
Alright.
I already told him I would.
All right.
Boxeo, we got you. But he hit
Nice.
you up on Facebook. You have to give me his info.
Oh,
though.
really?
So,
Okay,
yeah.
I got to check
Yeah.
my Facebook
We'll
messages.
send you a T-shirt and
Sounds
some other
good.
stuff. We'll send you some cool stuff.
All
Don't
right.
worry about it. But yeah, I know that we're getting a lot of. You guys are chatty today. I appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, that's a pretty good summary of what happened this weekend. A couple things that happened this week. Just to throw it out there, maybe get your guys' opinion on it. So David Hay retired, officially retired.
Was his toe hurt again?
I guess that's your opinion on it. But yeah, so coming off his
Yeah.
back-to-back losses,
The
he's out.
value, yeah.
Yeah, so
was
He could have retired a little, maybe
coulda retired
3
earlier.
years
Yeah.
ago. Maybe.
it's kind of sad to read the open letter and stuff that he kind of said, you know, my body's just not capable of doing it anymore. You always hear people talk about at a certain age their body can't do some of the things that they were able to do before, and he just feels like his body can't carry on.
And that's in life in general, man.
Yeah, I feel like
I've,
that now.
I've told people from the get-go, man, the only undefeated person in boxing is Father Time.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter who you are, man. You get to that certain age where your body just can't do it, or you know, you're done.
You know what it really does for me, though? It puts what Bernard Hopkins accomplished in perspective. Like, when you think about it, like you said, like, my body can't do things it was able to do 3 years ago. The fact that Bernard Hopkins was fighting at the highest level of competition into his 50s and is, like, still winning straps and unifying straps at that that's crazy.
You guys need to get him in here, man. You guys need to reach out to Golden Boy and have him on your show sometime.
It's
Talking to this dude is like it's like talking to a nutritionist, man.
really?
I was at a press conference when it was before the Canelo Cotto fight. We're at the Mandalay Bay and we're at the press conference, the final press conference, and Golden Boy just busted out this big ass spread, man. I mean, just pastas and fajitas and all this
Getting
food,
hungry.
right? So
I know.
I got me this big ass plate of food, right? And Bernard Hopkins looks me dead in the eye and says, "You gonna eat all that?" I'm like, yeah. And then he starts going off about how your body's your temple, and if your body goes, your head falls, and this and that. I haven't put anything bad in my body in 30 years, and I don't put bread, I don't put alcohol, I don't do this, I don't do that. And I'm like,
Yeah, he doesn't drink drink soda.
And I'm
hardly
like,
any sugar.
dude, my food's getting cold. No, he's a good
He
dude.
needs
But yeah,
to-
man, he's a whole different element when it comes down to the, to
Well,
keeping
yeah.
his body in
I mean,
shape
I'm
and-
wondering if like he's ever gonna hit the wall. But if he's like that dedicated to his nutrition, then he's gonna look good for a long, long time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I have like the more I think about it, the older I get, the crazier and more baffled I am by the fact that he was able to accomplish that. Like
Right.
I'm like that's nuts.
And surviving prison.
Yeah.
And then doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, wow.
Well, that last fight he had though, man,
Joe Smith.
Ooh, he got knocked out the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was.
that was pretty. He landed on his head.
Yeah. Landed on his head.
They got to do something about the ropes though. Too many people be flying through the ropes sometimes.
Well,
I don't know.
They added the fourth rope back in the 80s.
Yeah,
To prevent
Showtime
that.
kind of commented on that too.
It
He
was
was
a
saying the ropes looked
loose
loose.
rope.
Yeah, it looked like a loose rope, and he fell through. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, so. And then one other thing, a few other things, because someone just asked me. I don't know if you guys saw Josh Kelly won his 7th professional fight. I mentioned Josh Kelly on the show a lot because I've watched quite a few of his highlights. I'm a fan of Josh Kelly. So he beat Chris George yesterday by, I think it was the 7th round, the referee's technical decision in the 7th round. So the ref called a stop to it in the 7th round. That was for the Commonwealth British boxing title. And he also defended the title that he picked up in his last fight. Again, we were just
Carlos
talking
Molina.
about how did I do that again? Against Carlos Molina. So in his last fight, he fought Carlos Molina and picked up an international, I think it was the WBA international title. Carlos Molina is a former opponent of Kermit Cintron and Erislandy Lara and, all those guys from 2009, 2010 area.
Comes from the boxing family. The Molina brothers, all three of them are fighters. Oscar, Javier, and Carlos.
Yeah.
There's a documentary that came out about 10 years ago on the brothers, about all three of them trying to make the Olympics. I think Javier was the only one that actually made the Olympic team. So,
yeah. So I think so. Josh Kelly is still, to me, that step up in competition because Carlos Molina has had over 30 professional fights and competed with some of the highest level, in the welterweight division at the time. People like James Kirkland and Kermit Cintron. This was back when they were coming on. And I know now in retrospect there were other welterweights that were better in that era, but still very competitive fighters. So to me, that his last victory was a little bit more impressive than this one, but still doing good things in the welterweight division, and hopefully we'll see more and more of him. I'm a fan of his. From watching highlights, I became a fan of his. So thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, I'm definitely aware about Josh Kelly. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you guys about, so we talked about the Boxing Hall of Fame last week. I gave a shout out to some of the Hall of Famers. Did you see the interaction between Mike Tyson and Don King?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw that.
Yeah.
I think Don seemed to he tapped him on the shoulder. Seemed like he said, "Hey, good to see you, champ." And
Yeah,
and
then Mike Tyson threw the water.
yeah,
at
and
him.
Mike Tyson was like, "F you owe me money still," or something.
Right.
You ruined my life. Get out of here.
Yeah, threw the water at him.
Yeah, so that was interesting to see because we've heard that. There's a story Mike Tyson says where he actually attacked Don King and said, "Dude, you owe me $30 million. I'm gonna kill you. Give it to me or I'm gonna kill you." And I guess Don King gave him the money.
What?
Yeah,
Wow.
and Mike Tyson. This is, I think, I don't know what interview it was, but he admits to doing that, to going to Don King's house.
Strong-armed him.
Yeah, he just strong-armed him, and it was either $3 million or $30 million. They had gone over his books, his accounting books, over the course of his career, and what they found out was, he owes him $30 million, and this was when Mike Tyson was dead broke, which was not too long ago. So I guess first thing he did was well, I'm broke. I'm gonna go see Don King. He owes me money, and I guess you can. I don't know. That's one of those forgive or forget type of things, and with Don King,
He didn't forget.
Yeah, he didn't forget and he didn't forgive, and it's just.
He issued an apology on afterwards. He recorded.
he?
Well, he said not really. He didn't say sorry so much as I believe based on the video that I saw. He's more saying I shouldn't have behaved that way. So
Yeah.
not like I'm sorry to Don King, but more like I shouldn't react that way, and
Yeah.
I understand that I shouldn't do that, but it kind of took me back, and I reacted naturally.
Well,
so.
you know what I thought? I thought the funniest part about that was Antonio Tarver was sitting next to Mike Tyson, and he looked at Mike Tyson throw the water at him. Then he looked away, and he was like, "I'm not going to tell Mike Tyson anything."
What are you going to tell Tyson?
I know, like, champ, what's wrong with you? Like, you don't say it, right?
You're sitting in earshot. Literally, like,
Yeah,
what are you going to do? Bend over and bite Tarver's ear off?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No. And Tyson's, like, big. Like, I was watching the Diego De La Hoya fight. He was fighting the night before the induction, right?
Okay.
So they have the inductees in the ring.
Oh, okay.
And Tyson's in there with them, like, for no reason.
Because he's Mike, man.
Because he's
Yeah.
Mike.
Iron,
He
man.
just gets in the ring, and I'm telling her, because I'm streaming the fights, and I'm like, why the hell is Tyson in the ring for? And he's just there, and he's taking pictures with all the inductees, like he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame as well.
Nice.
I'm just like, cool, but nobody said anything
Nobody
to
You
him, man.
can't say anything to Iron Mike,
No,
But you
man.
know what?
He's like an action movie star now.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed he was really skinny not too long ago, but he's gained a lot of weight.
He's ballooned.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
good. That means he's healthy. He's eating good.
Yeah.
He was in.
He's
He's
beloved,
been in like multiple kung fu movies.
I love those movies, man. And then
Oh,
when,
really?
when Tyson, the IP man,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Iman, and then he was just in the one that came out on Netflix, Kickboxer. He was just in the new
I
Kickboxer
haven't
movie
seen the
that
new
came out
Kickboxer
on
one. I'm left
Netflix.
to check that out
He
tonight.
like trains. He's one of the people who trains the Kickboxer guy to go and fight the
Hey,
main thing.
but in all fairness,
He's an action star.
In all fairness, Don King has a lot of. There's a lot of like, what do you say? He's got a reputation, you know. So I mean,
Yeah.
especially in boxing, he's got a reputation for taking advantage of a lot of fighters, for maybe ruining Tyson's career.
ripping him off, man. I
Yeah,
seen
ripping
something
everybody
where he
off.
was charging like Chavez $5 for a can of Coke, and this was
Yeah.
like in the '80s, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
put
they
stuff
were-
in their locker room and like charge them like ridiculous amounts, like $15 for water and $5 for.
It's the same guy.
There goes a 4-wheeler guy.
Yeah, there's that dude. He's just going back and forth.
Yeah,
It
but-
blows my mind. I actually, and this is from memory, and it's a long time ago, but I believe that Don King has murdered 2 people and was caught and only served a total of 5 years in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He
At the
did.
very
Yeah,
least
like he
one.
murdered 2 different people
Really?
at 2 different times, not like at once. At 2 different times, he murdered people
Yeah.
and served only 5 years in prison combined for the
Yeah.
both. No wonder you love the country.
Yeah, God bless America, right?
Yeah, well, America.
Get away with
It's
murder.
crazy. Yeah.
Maybe he'll
Blows my
maybe
mind.
Trump will pardon him next.
Oh,
I mean,
Yeah. He's a Trump supporter, I think.
Yeah,
actually.
he is. But
But
Dude.
I'm surprised he didn't melt when the water touched him. Right? He's like, sure. But
Maybe he did. It's hard
Yeah.
to tell these days.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anybody is, I mean, if we can understand Mike Tyson's frustration, it definitely would be at that moment at Don King.
exactly, man.
I mean, but
Yeah, I
I give
I
him
saw
a pass.
Robert Garcia make a comment on it, and he said, like, dude, you made $300 million in your career while working with Don King. Like, what's the complaint?
yeah. Well,
But at the
there's two
same
si-
time, if you were making 300 and you were supposed to make 500, that's a big difference, Like,
It's a big difference, man.
yeah,
Yeah. Well,
That's-
two sides to every story. That's
yeah,
for
that's a
sure.
pretty big difference. So, but I guess that's my take on it. I
Yeah.
wanted to bring it up though because I did think it was an interesting event that occurred at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Boxing is entertaining on many levels.
Yes.
Not
He's
just
still
in the ring.
relevant today. He's still relevant today. Kickboxer, Hall of Fame. It's all good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's about it for today. Wow. Let's see. How long did we run? Do you think?
I'm saying 119.
It was 123. You were
Ah,
close.
dang,
You're
yeah.
pretty close.
pretty close. It's like guessing weight on my fighters when I see a new guy in the gym.
Yeah.
I always tell him, "What do you weigh?" You look like about 125, and he's like, "I'm 125."
You could do
Yeah.
the carnival act.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was gonna say. That
But
but a
if-
person at the carnival
if-
guessing weights.
If you
Do the
spend enough
carnival
time
act.
in the gym and then go to weigh-ins, like all the time, you can get it all the time.
What do you think I weigh right now?
Like
27.
135,
That's probably pretty close, actually.
Yeah.
That's not far off.
maybe
Yeah.
132.
No, it's
more
I
heavier?
think it's probably a little bit more. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably like 138.
All
But that's
right.
not a bad guess.
All right, yeah, 135.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
Don't guess my weight.
I won't.
I appreciate you
I'm
guys
not
having
gonna-
me on, man.
No,
Yeah,
I
man, it's
really
been
thanks
fun.
for coming down, man. It's been a blast. I appreciate you taking the time to go through everything with us.
No problem, man.
Stacks, we got to have you back on the show
No, for
in
sure.
the
This
future.
is a great podcast, man. So
Thanks.
good experience. Nice gym here.
Oh, thank you.
So
Yeah.
appreciate it.
We think we're onto something here with our podcast. We think we got one of the best boxing podcasts out there.
What do you
We'll
guys
see.
think?
Trying to get Stacks to say, "Damn right."
No, man.
Oh,
no,
okay.
seriously, it's a good show. You guys are very knowledgeable. It's a good atmosphere. It's cool, man. You guys are set up the right way. It's not a little half-ass Facebook Live on your iPhone.
Yeah.
They've
yeah.
invested, man. If you guys are watching, they've invested some money in here. Somebody got some new mics for Father's Day.
Yeah,
So
this
man,
is my Father's Day gift.
yeah.
right
So
here.
no, it's
So thanks.
legit, man. I mean, so it's a good show, and I'm sure you guys are on to bigger and better things, man.
Oh, thanks.
The word's gonna get out there in the Southern California community, and there's a lot of boxers out here, man. There's a lot of stuff to talk about all the time, man.
Oh, yeah.
Even if there's not fights going on or nothing's going on, there's always something going on out here in Southern California.
Yeah.
And you guys know that. If there's fans out there watching, man, you talk about Vegas, New York, wherever all you want. LA's the hotbed. This is where it's at, man. From Oxnard to Big Bear, all the way down to Orange County and everywhere in between. This is the spot, man. There's gyms everywhere. There's fighters everywhere. There's always something going on. So you guys keep tuning in to these guys here at the Sweet Science Boxing MMA podcast, because they are going to be doing big things.
Appreciate
Thanks.
you.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, man.
It's great having somebody as knowledgeable about the sport, you know. 'Cause
Oh yeah, it's always fun to talk boxing with people who know boxing. You
Yeah.
know?
For sure, man. I think we should do like a boxing roundtable and get a few other people in here, like before the Canelo fight, man, and just break it down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'd
let's do
I'd
that,
definitely
man.
be.
all right, I want the president of the WBC. I want somebody from the state athletic commission. You know, let's get some
We
some
already said-
movers
Yeah,
and
I
shakers.
don't think anybody from the Nevada Boxing State Athletic Commission is going to come in here. We'll just see where the fight's going to be at.
Yeah.
Now, the WBC, I think I can pull some strings. I'm not saying I can get Mauricio in here, but you know, I'm sure.
Nancy Rodriguez was here with
Yeah,
us
she
once
was.
before.
Yeah.
So Nancy came down before. But yeah, I already told Marco that we have to rewatch Pacquiao and Horn for one of these things, and we're gonna score it at the table because we had this big debate about
What does
who
he
won.
think Pacquiao won?
No, I
You
think,
think,
I
you
thought
think
Horn
Horn won? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
Pacquiao did won 4, maybe 5 rounds. Okay, it was
That was
ugly,
my
but
reaction.
what are you judging?
That
though?
was my reaction.
Holding or headbutts or what? You giving him a point for every headbutt that he? For the amount of blood, like if for every
Oh
for
my
every 2
goodness.
ounces of blood that was falling out of Pacquiao's head on the
he
headbutt.
snuck in a bunch of punches on the clinches.
We should just have 10 people here all looking at it. And we
Hey,
go,
eating popcorn and just
Hey, but our guest previous to the last one thought Horn won too, and he's a
True.
he's a
It
judge.
was 2 against 1 last time.
Yeah,
It
he's
was
a
a
USA
judge.
boxing official. He's an amateur judge, but
the same
he
one,
thought he
the
won.
same one that ripped off your guy yesterday at the
No,
fights?
he wasn't. He wasn't judging.
The one that thought the other guy won and
Maybe,
you
maybe.
didn't.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
Maybe.
It
Okay.
was- yeah, on that episode, it was
Yeah,
2
yeah,
against,
yeah.
2 against 1.
There you go, man. And that's why your
So
fighter
thanks-
lost.
thanks for
because you
backing
have
me up.
those USA boxing
That's
judges
what I get. Yeah, that's what I get for
saying that Horn won,
saying
and that's
Horn
why
won.
your
That's
your
what I
fighter
get.
lost, bro.
So I appreciate the backup.
I'll keep that to myself now. Don't tell anybody. I have no opinion on it.
All right, man. All right. Well, happy Father's Day to everybody out there.
Yeah,
Thank
happy
you very
Father's
much.
Day.
Any shout outs you want to give?
No,
Anybody you want to call out?
Just to all the dads out there, especially all the dads that are, teaching their kids how to box, taking them to all the fights, taking them to gyms, spending a lot of time with them, and showing them the sweet science, and then toughening their kids up, but showing them keeping the sport alive and helping to create the next champion. So shout out to all those dads, and then to my friends and family who are dads, and happy Father's Day to them, and happy Father's Day to my dad. He's rest in peace, but happy Father's Day to him still.
Definitely. How about you? Is there anything specific you want to call out? Any channels we need to follow?
Man, if you
Your Instagram?
exactly, you can follow me at Stacks Ringside, Stacks_Ringside on Instagram. Don't look me up on Facebook because I won't friend you.
That's fine.
My Facebook's a little bit personal, and I just want to give a big shout out to Supreme Boxing. I want to give a shout out to Nancy and to Hector, to my wife Cynthia. She's my personal photographer, and to the whole crew, to Jason, Danny Zaldivar, Daniel Quinones, and the whole Supreme Boxing crew. Willie Romero and Big Ray. If I forgot anybody, I think that's everybody. And Jason. Albert, Lena from Baker and Baker Productions. Good people. They help out Supreme a lot. So just want to give a shout out to all of them. And you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Supreme Boxing. You can follow us at Supreme Boxing. We're probably one of the biggest boxing medias, if not the biggest boxing media outlet in Southern California. So you can reach us on there. If you got questions, we are always having events. We're always doing things with fighters, so you can follow us on there. And just be looking out in the future for Supreme Boxing to be linking up with these guys here at the Sweet Science Boxing MMA, because it was fun working with them today, and I'm sure we can collaborate on a few other things. So
Yeah, you'll be back.
yeah, for
Appreciate
sure.
you, brother.
All right, man.
I appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right. Peace.